Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the dashas, talking specifically about if you're about to go into Mars Mahadasha. Now, Mars is a 7-year cycle, so let's talk about what that could bring in your life. And I know this for certain. Anytime someone goes into Mars Mahadasha, usually it is a jolt of energy, because Mars is that. It's energy. So before I begin, I always want to remind everyone, if you want to sign up for my free newsletter, go to my website where you will get my monthly predictions delivered to your email every month. So go to galacticcenter.org and sign up. Plus, don't forget, check out my beautiful spiritual jewelry, and you will find that they are always reminding us of our spiritual purpose here on Earth. So last but not least, don't forget, if you're curious and want to learn about Vedic astrology, check out my university online school, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Check that out. So let's talk about the Mars Dasha. What is this all about? The dashas are based on where your natal moon is in your birth chart. And wherever your natal moon is, the nakshatra it's in, the ruling planet of that nakshatra starts your whole life cycle and dictates when everything will evolve in your life. It's quite amazing. Sometimes things can pretty much lay dormant in a chart till you go into that dasha, then boom, all of a sudden all the things that people were telling you about in your chart begin to happen. That's what these dashas do. They activate the planets in the chart. So the Mars cycle, and remember I'm always talking about the grand cycle, it's called the Maha Dasha. And then we have smaller cycles within that grand cycle. We call that the sub-cycle. Next is the Bhukti. So those are the two planets based on what your Mahadasha and Bhukti planets are. How they're placed in your birth chart reveal what your experiences will be. So the grand cycle is the big picture. It lasts for a long time. It's almost like the country you live in. But the sub-cycle is what's going on in your immediate environment. So what I want to focus in on today is when you go into a big grand cycle, how much your life changed and what it's going to be about. Now remember, always, things will vary according to how these planets are placed in your chart, what signs. But today, just to generalize, I'm going to talk about if you go into the Mars Mahadasha, where Mars is located in your chart, will give us some kind of reference point of what the experience can be about, especially the very first phase of a cycle, such as Mars, when you go into Mars. And that's going to be a little less than, well, it's not as long as a year, but when you go into Mars, that's the beginning phase when you're going to get a big dose of Mars energy. So you're going to get an abrupt change when you enter this cycle. It's a 7-year cycle. So let's say you just entered Mars Mahadasha and you have Mars in the first house. Well, things are going to start happening really fast because Mars is that dynamic energy. Now, you could be a little bit more accident prone. You're going to have to watch out because Mars is impulsive, impatient, direct energy. And when we jump into things, not thinking, that's when accidents happen, when we're impulsive and we're impatient. So you got to watch it. Mars in the first house can be empowering, though. It can give you energy where, before you just didn't have the get up and go. Now you will throughout this cycle. Now, Mars being in the first, you may start realizing relationship issues crop up because this is Kuja dosha when you have Mars in the first. It is aspecting your 7th house, and this dasha sequence could bring relationship issues if you're not careful. Okay, so let's say you've entered Mars Mahadasha and your Mars is in the second house. Second house deals so much with spending and gaining money, expansion. So Mars here will bring you opportunities to make money, but you'll spend it. But the good news is you've got the money to spend. It's expenditure, it like fast. And when Mars is in your second house, you know you're not very careful when you speak. You blurt things out without thinking. Now, when you go into this dasha, it's going to cause you some problems. So please be aware, think before you speak. All right, so, and it could bring up a lot of stuff in relationships. In the second house. Why? Because it's the 8th house from the 7th. This is problems in marriage. Did you know that sometimes the second house causes this based on the fact it is 8 houses from the 7th house, the marriage house? So Mars, if it's placed there in the second, it's going to bring out issues again of how you relate. Be careful what you say. If you have Mars in the 3rd house and you just enter into Mars Mahadasha, issues around siblings will come up, arguments, contention. Why? Mars is also the karaka, meaning indicator of brothers and sisters. Plus, if you got it in the 3rd house, you have issues with them anyway. And going into this dasha is going to bring this to light big time. So watch these issues. So Mars in the 3rd house can also help you traveling. You're going to go new places all over. You're going to be learning new things. That's what Mars does there. But because the 3rd house deals with short distance travels, a lot of your travels will be by car. And it may most certainly be a commute that you have to start traveling more. So let's talk about if you go into Mars Mahadasha and your Mars is in your 4th house. There will be some contention with the mother, and you will probably move. There's going to be a big change of residence. Watch that. Mars, Mahadasha. But there will be contention with family. So you got to really watch these things and be careful, lay low when it comes to arguments or contention with the family or the mother. Also, it could be a time of renovation. I have seen that so many times when people, Mars can be tearing things up. So tearing up the house to renovate it, make it like new. That could be what this onset of this dasha can be. Plus Mars, if you have Mars in the 4th house, you do extremely well with real estate and property. Maybe it's time to invest. You will. So Mars being in your 5th house, and you go into Mars Mahadasha, there may be some contention around children. But if you don't have children, this is the time your mind really opens and takes off, because this is all about a new learning and probably investments. These type of things are going to open up for you. And if you're sports oriented, this would be a time you could take up a new sport. It's a time of entertainment. Now, if your Mars is in the 6th house and you go into Mars Mahadasha, you could be looking at many changes in the workplace. Plus, I know that there's something going on with your health. Be more cautious, especially if you have other planets there with Mars. Sometimes Mars in the 6th house can, by itself, means you're healthy, you have a really strong immune system. But if you put together like K2 with Mars in your 6th house, then this could be where it could bring out some type of illness. So you want to watch your health, be on the lookout to what can be healing and helpful. Plus you may have arguments or disputes with people in the workplace. And if you have pets, it could be where you could have some problems with them. Okay, so if you have Mars in the 7th house and you go into Mars Mahadasha, guess what? Your marriage or relationships may be on the rocks. Doesn't always mean divorce, but it does mean there has to be something contended with and healed and worked on, because having Mars in the 7th house is Kuja dosha, relationship issues will be something you've come here in this lifetime to learn through, and the Mars Dasha will bring that up. If you have business partners, there could be a falling out of some sort, so be cautious, be aware of this. So if you have Mars in the 8th house and you go into Mars Mahadasha, this will be life-changing, because Mars in the 8th can deal with deep introspection and psychology, and it could be dark. You know, sometimes when I think about Mars in the 8th house, there's a lot to do with deep psychology. Things of the past could come up, and even sometimes it deals with sexual abuse. This is one of the things I have found with many of my clients that have Mars and other planets, malefics in the 8th house. This is a time for healing of any of these deep core issues. Plus, Mars in the 8th house can mean some deep scientific discoveries. Don't forget, Einstein had Mars and Rahu both in Capricorn in the 8th house, and he was a profound researcher and scientist. So it could just deal with these type of issues instead of the psychological issues. And Mars in the 8th house makes you want to go deep. When you go in this dasha, you go into deep side of life, wondering about the purpose, the meaning, why are we here? That's the deepest stuff. So if you have Mars in the 9th house and you go into Mars Mahadasha, this is going to be a time that there's so much self-discovery, spirituality, new learning, wanting to take classes, but there could be some kind of upset concerning you and your father, okay? There's something that comes up. And maybe whatever it is, it needs to be looked at and resolved throughout this 7-year cycle. But it will hit like a ton of bricks when you first go into it. So Mars in the 9th house can mean if you're in school or education, there could be some problems with professors or teachers. Watch out for that. But you'll be wanting to travel more, get out, explore, and this is a good time for that. So if you have Mars in the 10th house, and you go into Mars Mahadasha, this is a time of expansion and growth with your business, opportunities. I love Mars in the 10th. It makes for success in career pursuits. And so you'll find your business could change what you're doing, but it will improve, get better, and you will be more successful, more driven, more ambitious during this cycle. So if you go into Mars Mahadasha and it's in your 11th house, this can mean you're going to curtail or end some friendships that were not working there for some time. And it is time to sever those relationships. Mars in the 11th house means you're more driven, you're more ambitious, and yes, you will make more money from your career. It is the 2nd house from the 10th. Money you make from your work. So this could be more drive, ambition, brings more wealth from opportunities from work. And if you have an older sibling, this could be the time that there can be some confrontation about things from the past. If you go into Mars Mahadasha and your Mars is in the 12th house, yes, it's a time to let go of so many things from the past, things that have hurt you, all of those hurtful things. But more than anything, be careful what you do and say around the workplace. Because what I've noticed is when Mars is in your 12th, you have secret enemies. What does that equate to? People that backstab you and talk behind your back at work. And when you go into this dasha, it will bring it out more. Another thing is make sure you lock your car and your home up because it can deal with thieves, robbers, things of that nature. So when you go into this dasha, be careful of secret enemies. And another thing about Mars being in the 12th house and you go into Mars dasha, nightmares. You can't sleep at night. All these old things that have haunted you before seem to come back through your dreams, and it causes distress or disturbed sleep, or you just can't sleep as well. So realize Mars in the 12th, many times when I talk about the secret enemies, there could be so many people in the workplace that are jealous, want to and even possibly steal your ideas. So be cautious and careful. Keep these things to yourself, lay low, because it deals with people that you can't see that could cause you some problems. So with that, it's time just to let go of of these memories that hold you back. That's what that will do. So I think I've covered all 12 houses. If you have Mars in a particular house and you go into this Maha Dasha, these will be the generalities of the things that will surface and come out in your life. These dashas are the most incredible tool that we can get a big picture overlay of what is due to happen in our lives and from what's going on in our charts. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, remember you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And if you're interested in learning Vedic astrology, join our community. Go to University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.